Hey, what's going on, RC drivers? Team Corally has been making a lot of moves lately. The company is really well known for producing some high quality racing machines, and as of about a year ago, they entered the basher market, and they did so with some really cool stuff, some high powered buggies and truggies, and now they're into version 2 of those vehicles, and they look like they're going to be even better for the basher market. Now, what I have in front of me is something brand new, well, sort of brand new. It is a new name under that basher lineup. It's the Radix6, but it pretty much shares the same platform as the Python. It's an 8-scale buggy, 6S powered, 4-wheel drive, and this thing is just going to be ballistic and probably a lot of fun to jump and rip around in the dirt. So this thing is so brand new that at the time I'm filming this, it hasn't even been announced yet, but I've gone over the whole thing, and I'm ready to tell you guys all the details about this buggy because we've never reviewed the Python or obviously the Radix6 on the channel before. So let's start off with the outside, and this is what really differentiates the Radix6 from the Python. So, you know, instead of going and maybe making the Python in 2 different colors, what they did is they basically gave you a different buggy with a different styling. So instead of a yellow and green, let's say, you know, you could pick the Python itself, which is also a red scheme vehicle with more of a bubble canopy. And this body here has more of a cab forward racing style design to it. It's still got these cool graphics to it. It's got the Radix6 logos on there, but you got that cab forward look with a little swoop in the rear to deflect air up and over the wing. Kind of has a racing look to it, and this buggy is actually kind of marketed for both the basher or an entry-level racing buggy. And, you know, I could see that happening with this, you know, that dual use. But beyond the styling of the body itself, we've got some tethers on there to hold the body clips, a little nose piece bolted to the front, and then in the rear, we've got this, you know, high downforce wing with a brace in the center, which looks really cool. The other change is the tires on this. So this has more of a blocky style of tread to it on these black rims, and I think, you know, this blocky style of tread is really more for the basher crowd. So if you are going to go and try to take this racing, probably going to want a different set of tires, but that's really it for the outside changes that you know, differentiate it from the Python. So cool looking buggy in my opinion, and I really think it's going to be easy for people to get into bashing or, you know, again, entry level racing. So let's dive on to the inside features of this, and we'll start off with the drivetrain on it. So changes in the drivetrain over, let's say, the previous version of the Python is the center differential here. So we now have an aluminum center differential case, which is going to hold up to a lot of the heat that the center differential produces when you're running this thing on 6S. And that's something that a lot of people found on previous cars of all different brands, is when you're running 6S, that differential takes a beating. So it's nice to see that you have an aluminum case on there with seals to hold the oil inside, and it does feel like there is oil on the inside of this one. I reviewed the Dementor version 1, and that really had nothing on the inside of it, so all the power went to the front. But very cool that they have that. Branching out from the center differential, we've got dog bones to the front and rear gear differentials, you know, steel gears on the inside, full ball bearings throughout. We do have CV style drive shafts in the front, but they are dog bones in the rear, which, you know, if you're gonna have CVs in the car, I definitely wanna have them in the front. You know, rear is fine for dog bones if you're out there bashing, in my opinion, but they probably do have optional CVs to go in the rear as well. So that pretty much makes up the drivetrain. Again, steel gears, ball bearings, 17 millimeter hexes on the outside, pretty much what you want out of a basher vehicle. All right, now let's move on to the suspension here, and you know, just kind of looking at the upgrades that Corally has gone through. They say that they have heavy-duty arms on here now, composite arms, and the fronts do feel stiff. There is a little flex to the rear, so you know, that's good for bashing style of vehicles. For racing, maybe you want something a little bit more rigid, but again, this is kind of the entry-level racer, as they're calling it. Pillow ball suspension in the front, which is adjustable, H-arm style in the rear with bulky outer hubs, and one of the changes that they made to the vehicles for the V2 is they now have fixed turnbuckles. So we've got fixed turnbuckles in the rear and fixed turnbuckles for the steering, which, you know, it's fine for a basher vehicle, but I think I would have liked to have seen the turnbuckles on this version. Maybe the Python would have been cool with the fixed turnbuckles, and then this one, you know, have adjustables, because if you want to go and take it racing, I think you'd want maybe a little bit of tunability there, but that's just my opinion. Maybe something, you know, if Corally's watching, they take that and maybe work that into the next version. What I really, really like about the suspension on this are the shocks. These are some killer looking shocks, all aluminum, threaded body. They feel really good. They don't have dust boots on them. Again, maybe, you know, if Corally, if you're watching, if you're going for a V3 version of this, make it a little bit more racing-like and put some dust boots on there. That would be pretty awesome. But, you know, just be aware of that, you know, during your maintenance, clean off your shock shafts and stuff like that from dirt, and that will help the oil last inside and reduce wear, of course. But the shocks feel really good on this, nice and plush. It also has sway bars front and rear, so that's cool for the raceability factor and the handling factor when you're going out there bashing. It does have the aluminum hinge pin support plates, front and rear, both A, B, C, and D blocks, so that should be pretty durable as well. Got a nice front bumper on there. On the outside of the arms on the steering, we've got steel pillow balls with composite steering knuckles that have aluminum steering tabs on there. I like that. That's pretty cool. One of the other major changes that they did to the V2 version is now there is a aluminum top plate here that helps support the upper arm. So it's a revised top plate for the steering brace, and then they got an aluminum plate in there to just help brace everything up. That's really about it for the suspension on this. Other changes that I want to point out, they do have a new monoblock wing mount in the rear, so that's much more stable than some of the old cross brace style where they used aluminum posts between the two. Those would typically bend or twist, and this one seems really firm. There are composite chassis braces in the center, and then the chassis itself is a 3mm standard style electric chassis. There is an adjustable battery mount here with Velcro straps, so you could secure your two 3S packs, your two 2S packs, or your full 6S packs if you want to, whatever combination you're running. That should accommodate a lot of stuff. Now let's, I guess, move on to the electronics on here. So again, it's a ready-to-run vehicle, comes out of the box just like this. We do have the S2R radio system, pretty cool digital radio, got a good feel to it. A little on the small side, but it does have a good feel, and I do like that it has digital trims. You'd have to supply 4 AA's for that. And then over in the car, we've got the very prop 7225 steering servo, high torque metal gear steering servo with an aluminum servo horn on there, much better than plastic. And that actually goes down to a twin crank steering setup, servo saver built in, of course, and then they have a new 7075 Ackerman plate in there, so that will be much stronger than the previous version. And that makes up the steering. The receiver is, of course, mounted over in this box over here to keep it protected from the elements. And then we go over to the Curon 825 brushless motor. It is a sensorless brushless motor, 2050 kV. Pretty cool look to it. It's got the heatsink fins, Corally logos all over it. It does bolt up to an aluminum motor plate. And definitely like the look of the motor plate. Looks like it's really easy to adjust gear mesh if you ever want to go and change the pinion gear. And then let's get over to the speed controllers. It's the Torx 185. Kind of has that hobby wing look to it with the heat sinks popping out and cooling fan on top. And your bank of capacitors there. The on-off switch is a simple button. The set button is also located on the on-off switch. And then it is fitted with really heavy-duty gauge wire. And then, of course, XT90 plugs. And they even give you the jumper plug. So if you want to just run a single pack in there, the jumper plug is already in it, which is pretty cool. That's really about it. I like the little details throughout this thing, like the red washers that hold down the mud guards. We've got droop screws in there. Everything is wired nicely from the factory, nice and neat. So they definitely put some detail into this when they were building it. And really all you need to supply, like I said before, is some AA batteries, your main battery pack, your LiPo pack, and then a charger. The only other things that they give you in the kit are an antenna and some instruction manuals. So, if you don't have anything, you're going to want to pick up some tools and a 17mm nut driver to tighten down the wheels. And that's really about it. So I am excited to go drive this thing. Let's head out and just tear up some dirt. So I ran into a little bit of an issue over at the BMX track. Actually, I ran into something with the buggy and did a little bit of damage, but I was able to go home and repair it. I'll tell you guys about that later. But when I went back to the BMX track to do some more running, there was riders there. So I can't drive with riders on the track. So went back home and grabbed my RC bash ramps. And now I'm just at a field where I'm gonna set up the ramps and run it around and have some more fun bashing this thing. Let's go. All right, everyone, we are 6S powered on the Radix and we're just gonna do some speed runs in this lot, see how fast this thing goes. And I already know how fast this thing goes. This thing rips. All right, watch this. Yeah. Whoa. On the binders, kicking up rocks. That's cool. Little loose in the rear on this thing, but once it starts ripping, oh my God, I just got hit with rocks from this thing. Once it starts ripping, it's fun. Look at this. Speed run. Yeah. Controllable on the binders, rip it back around. This thing is quick. One more rip. What's this? Whoa, whoa. I love the whine from the gearing on it. That is cool. This thing is fast. Look at that. Look at that. That gets your heart pumping. So cool. All right. Why don't I go set up the jumps? We can rip on the jumps next. All right, we're back at it. Get some more air off of this jump. All right, ramp it up, ramp it up. Oh, this is gonna be big. Yeah. Landed it. Wasn't pretty, but it took it. Going back for more. That was just like half throttle right there. That just tells you how much power this thing has. All right, here's some more. Yeah. Oh, and it landed again. Nice. Trying to land in the grass over there, have something soft to land on at least. I'm not too happy that it's flat landing, but I don't have anything to really land it on, so. Whoa. Oh my God. Still going. Oh, how awesome was that? I don't think it was happy I did that, but we're still moving here. All right, let's go for another one. Yeah, squeeze the throttle. Oh, it took some leaves with it. This thing is crazy. All right, took the leaves off, and I did notice I bent the front shock tower a little bit. It did hit pretty hard over there. But you know what? I'll just tweak this a little bit. A little more preload, since it's kind of sitting a little lower in the front. We're gonna keep on going. This is a basher buggy, and I'm gonna see what it could do. There we go. Maybe I should just take it easy. So much more fun when you know that you can just keep on getting some jumps in rather than going crazy and possibly damaging it more than what I did already. But yeah, that's cool. That's where this buggy likes to really be played with, to be driven, if you will. Just kind of roll into it, let it soar. Wow, pulled out of that nosedive. Caught the edge a little too much on the jump. Checked up the buggy a little bit. We're gonna go back at it. It's been tough. There we go, look at that. Little tap of the brake. Flat landed on the grass. Set up again, here we go. Nice. Oh, that's pretty impressive there. It keeps on landing on the wheels instead of just wadding up. This is cool. Nice. Oh, a little slap. Could definitely use some heavier oil, I'm thinking, in the shocks. It does have a heavy 6S pack in there, so I think the setup on this thing is probably really good for 4S. Like if you're gonna go take this thing to the racetrack, that's when the setup is gonna be pretty good. But any more than that, I think when you go to the 6S packs and want to go big with the air and stuff, you're just gonna have to go heavier on all the oils. Yeah, I just love pulling the throttle on this thing. All right, one more big jump. Let's see what we can do here. Whoa. Rolled on the throttle a little too much there. All right, let's see what we can get. Roll back on, roll back on. We're going for it. We're going for the big one. Wow. Wow, what a beast. It took that, it separated the ramps. They were zip tied together. I think I put the Radix through enough torture. Let's head back to the workshop and talk about the performance. So I put a lot of mileage in on the Radix6. This was a fun buggy to go out there and test. I put it through a lot, guys. I took it over to the BMX track, ran some 6S battery packs through it, took it over to that dirt field, jumped it off those jumps on 6S, and even ran it up and down my street, because with these treads on there, it just screamed to me, go drive me, you know, on the road. And so that's what I did, and I kind of pushed this thing to the limit. So let's just go over things really quick. The steering on this, I think it works really well, you know, nice and nimble for anybody to drive on any type of basher surface. And I think if you're going to go hit the racetrack with it, I think it will do fine there as well. Handling wise, this thing jumps really well. It handles the bumps really well. I think it would actually do pretty well on a club scene style of racetrack. There was a question out there of how do I drive a 6S car on a on a racetrack when it's supposed to be 4S? You simply put a 4S battery pack in it. It's that simple. And you could take it over the track, and I think you could have fun club racing it. Are there going to be a lot of people running these? Maybe not, so you're going to have to do the setup on your own, but I think you'll have fun going around the track. Maybe if you swap out the tires to a racing tire, but definitely in the basher scene, this thing is a lot of fun. At the BMX track, it cleared those jumps nice and easily, landed nice and plush for the most part. The thing that I really noticed here is the weight difference. So when you run it on a 4S battery pack, it runs really well, it handles really well. I think it's set up for 4S use. When you go and run it on 6S, I would kind of stick to just your flat dirt stuff, mild jumps, rolling jumps and stuff like that, because it is fast. It's a really high powered buggy. It's a lot of fun. But if you go too far with it, you know, the handling kind of goes away. So just be aware of that. 4S, totally awesome. But you know, the speed on this thing is what's so cool about it. The handling is really cool about it. I love, you know, driving ACL buggies, and I really enjoyed this one. There was a few issues. I did hit a stand over at the BMX track, and that caused the front center dog bone to bend. I was actually able to fix that by just hammering it out on my bench vise with a hammer, straightened it out. You know, I would recommend, you know, replacing it, but I had to go test it, so I did that. And it also broke one of the loops on the battery strap, the loop that you use to cinch the strap down. So, you know, it took a really hard hit in order to cause that stuff to happen. The chassis actually still seems straight. I put a ruler up at the bottom. There is barely any sign of a bend at all. I mean, maybe I could slip a piece of paper under it. But when I did go and jump this thing with the bash ramps, that's when things are much more harsh with this buggy on 6S. You know, that's I wouldn't suggest you go big jumping with this thing on 6S. 4S, totally cool, but 6S is where I encountered a couple more issues with durability. I did bend the front shock tower a little bit, and I did crack one of the rear rims, and that's kind of why it was spinning out a little bit in the video there. But it did put up with a lot. I bashed it pretty hard. That's my job, guys, is pushing these things as far as I can to show you what they could put up with, and that's what I did in this video. You saw what abuse this Corally buggy could take, and I think it took a considerable amount. But you know, if you're going to use it for its intended purposes of you know, driving around a track or going smoothly off BMX track jumps and stuff like that, it's going to be a blast. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's got a lot of power, and I think they did really well with this buggy. And if you want to see more Corally stuff, hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell, because we got more reviews for Corally coming up soon. We'll see you then.